Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is great to be back together for a wonderful Shabbat and a wonderful occasion, a great simcha. Mazel tov to the Post family and their extended friends and family who are on our bima, and to the towers. It's great to be together for another simcha. It's generations in your family that have celebrated, and it's wonderful to have another opportunity to celebrate together. But of course, as we celebrate here this morning, we should acknowledge and we should realize that it's been a bit of a tough summer. None of us was planning on spending this summer mostly at home. Many of our kids were thinking about other things, being at camp, being away. Many of us had all kinds of other plans and ideas, and we've all tried to make the most of it. Here at Emunah, we've had a summer filled with wonderful Zoom services like our musical Friday nights, like last night's barbecue and baruch. On Shabbat mornings, we've had wonderful summer speakers, talks by various members of our community. These have been posted on our website, and they are also video on our YouTube channel. I want to mention and give a yasher koach to Terry Schwartz-Russell for organizing all of this. And we have still one more, and that person is on our virtual bima. That's Mike Rosenberg, who will speak on September 19th in between Rosh Hashanah. And no, it's not the 19th. That's wrong. That is Rosh Hashanah. I'm getting my dates mixed up. September 26th. Is that right, Mike? I think it's the 26th. Who will be speaking as he does every year on Shabbat Shuvah. And of course, Mike also taught Zach so wonderfully, and as our Gabbai Rishon, and been along with Rabbi Kling Perkins and called up Zach for his Aliyah this morning. We've also had amazing and safe in-person, physically distanced activities this summer, which we've worked with our COVID committee to make sure we could do those. Brotherhood softball on Sunday morning. I'll put a little plug. The rain's supposed to stop. So tomorrow morning, get your glove, get your mask. And I don't just mean catcher's mask. I mean, your mask, and come out and catch some softballs in the outfield. It's a lot of fun. We've had our Monday morning ride with the Rabbi, where we've gone on our biking rides with a bunch of folks. Our youth staff has been incredible. You've seen Mayor, our Director of Congregational Learning, and he and Tova and our new staff member, Andrew, have organized youth activities in our courtyard. Safe. Our kids have worn their masks. They've kept their distance, but they've interacted with each other. And that's been wonderful. And Rabbi Kling Perkins and I have been holding Wednesday evenings minions in person on our courtyard with simultaneous Zoom. Thanks to Mark Drury for his tech help and Kathy McDonald for Gabbai. And our staff has been working tirelessly, led by Ravital and our lay leaders, to create all kinds of activities, both on Zoom, things like Barbara Newstat's meditation groups, Jen Geller's yoga, and of course, in person as well. Think of our amazing drive-in movie that we had earlier this summer. We've been figuring out how to cope and how to still be a community. My boys and I learned how to mountain bike this summer, which has gone pretty well, except for that time when I thought I was still 16 years old, and I tried to go really fast over a jump. And when I finally mustered the strength to get up from the bushes that I landed in after several minutes, I realized that I was not 16 anymore, and I probably should not do that. And so just don't be concerned. I will not be doing those jumps anymore. But in all seriousness, it has been a challenging time as the pandemic has continued to spread. People are still losing their livelihoods, especially those in service industries that have closed and that will continue to close. As we as a country cannot seem to figure out how to keep people working in smart ways as they are doing better in some other countries. And most tragically, people are still losing their lives in our country at levels that are simply unacceptable, since we cannot muster the will to wear masks. I cannot tell you how frustrated I am when I'm outdoors in places like the bike path where there are explicit signs stating that there's an official ordinance that we must wear masks, and many do not wear them, or they wear them like this. This is a really good way to wear a mask. This is really helpful. Thank you. Thank you for wearing it like that. Come on, people. We could do better. And then there is the continued assault on people of color by the police. This week, we watched in horror as Jacob Blake was shot 7 times in the back as he walked back to his car where his 3 little children were sitting. Now, I am not saying that he is perfect or what he did was perfect, but do we think that he deserved to get shot 7 times? And although he is now paralyzed for life and still fighting for his life, and he's had his stomach and his colon and his intestine removed, and the police handcuffed him to his hospital bed up until I think yesterday. Really? Is that necessary? His parents got on TV the next day and deplored the violence that was carried out by a small number of extremists who may feel so lost and hopeless, or maybe feel that they have no other recourse, or I don't know. Jacob Blake's father, whose son is in this terrible situation, said that seeing his son get shot 7 times in the back, right in front of his own little children, made it seem like his son's life did not have value, that it did not matter. But his life does matter. Lives matter. Black lives matter. It is a horrific video to watch. How many of these videos do we have to see? 1 every week? 2 a week? And so this week, there was another one on Tuesday evening with a teen with an AK-47, an AK-47 weapon of war on Tuesday evening. A man from Antioch, Illinois, not too far from where Sharon and I lived for 5 years. This young man, Kyle Rittenhouse, who apparently has an affinity for weapons and for the current president, goes down the street shooting protesters. He killed 2, goes right by the police with his hands up to be arrested, but the police don't arrest him. What do we see? We hear on television speeches in support of him. Turn on Fox News, you can hear them. We hear speeches supporting his actions, as if this is what we are supposed to believe is a good behavior. We hear speeches supporting having unlimited access to these weapons of war. Maybe let me put it a little bit differently and frame it a little bit differently. Ours is a country where a black man, as happened a few years ago, with a cigarette in his mouth in New York, is deemed more dangerous or threatening than a white man walking down the street with an AK-47 in Kenosha, Wisconsin, after having shot and killed 2 people, since the police kill the black man and do nothing to the white man. He was later arrested when he returned to Illinois. Now, don't get me wrong. Vandalism, arson, and looting are wrong, in case that was unclear. And anti-Semitism, those are all deplorable. A synagogue was vandalized as part of this horrific violence. And I will stand up and shout out against that loudly and clearly. But this country has a serious racism problem. It is embedded in its soil from its roots in slavery until this very moment. You would think that after the cold-blooded 8-minute and 46-second murder / public execution of George Floyd, we would see fewer of these police shootings. But they have not abated. They have not. They have just continued. Let me say this. I'm proud of our community. We have been working and reading and thinking and learning and reflecting all summer. 60 of us gathered on Zoom on Wednesday night to discuss Ibram Kendi's book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, and to think about ideas related to that. In my little discussion group, my breakout group, we discussed policies about redlining. And I saw in the New York Times this morning on the cover, there's a powerful article about those policies that prevented blacks from obtaining mortgages in good neighborhoods. Legacy of economic hardships that have been passed down for decades or more that have created these huge disparities of wealth. And you wonder why our country is the way it is now. It's not an accident. It's because of the policies that people put in place in 1938 to today. As a shul, we're thinking about what actions we can take as individuals and as a community. And while we are not monolithic, we are challenging ourselves. Should we join the Greater Boston Interfaith Organization and be a part of an interfaith coalition to stand with minorities? What can we do to build bridges to other communities? And we should be proud of how we are truly working to think about these issues. So now let me ask, what does our Torah state about all of this? Well, first and foremost, right at the beginning of the Torah, it says the most important teaching. It says in the first chapter of the Torah that every human being is created b'tselem Elohim. Maybe our most profound and deep teaching, that we are all created in the image of God, that every human being is therefore a spark of the divine, created in the image of God. And therefore we are all fundamentally equal and holy. We are all of infinite worth. We are all infinitely precious. And therefore when you approach another human being, you approach them with that sense of respect and care. And of course, everyone is equal. No one is better than anyone else. As the rabbis explain, no one can say, I'm better than you, or my ancestor was better than your ancestor. Never, ever are we supposed to harm another person, or never, God forbid, murder someone unjustifiably. Because as the Mishnah teaches, to kill a human being unjustifiably is to kill an entire world. But while this basic idea is introduced in the first chapter of the Torah, it's everywhere in the Torah. Because what is the point of this Torah? What is the point of this entire tradition? What are we doing here? It's to make us better people, more moral, more spiritual, hopefully better people. So these ideas are embedded in everywhere. They're embedded into all of our practices. And they are included all over this parasha, which, as Zach taught us, has the most mitzvot of any parasha. And Zach and I share this bar mitzvah portion as I get to celebrate my 36th anniversary, and Zach gets to do it for the first time. One of the commandments reads, if as you're wandering along the road, you come across a bird's nest, maybe it's in the tree or it's on the ground, and there's eggs there, and the mother is sitting over the eggs, but you need these eggs for food. The Torah says, right, you can't, just take the mother with the young. You have to shoo the mother bird away, and then you can take the fledglings, the little chicks, or the eggs if you need them for food. And if you do that, that's the way to do it. It's kind of a weird commandment. If you really need the eggs for food, why do you have to shoo away the mother bird? Now, I'll set aside some of the issues here about being vegetarian or being a vegan for another day. And I have to say, I do aspire to be a little bit more veganish. But in any case, what's up with this commandment? Maimonides, in his masterpiece, the Moreh Nevuchim, the Guide to the Perplexed, says that the reason we shoo away the mother bird from the nest is so that she will not see you take away the chicks or the eggs. He likens this to the case of other laws, where the calves and the cows are not to be slaughtered on the same day in sight of each other, or even the laws about mixing milk and meat. Now, the animals are not so smart. They don't understand all of these things, but we are. And so the Rambam, Maimonides, right, that's Rambam's how he's known in Hebrew. These laws are all about empathy because we understand empathy. And the Torah is about teaching us empathy and hopefully getting us to be more empathetic. The Torah wants to cultivate a sense of kindness within us. The cruelty of these actions in taking the eggs, right, is cultivating a sense of empathy and kindness within us. If we can be kind to animals, as the Torah wants us to be, then kal v'chomer, how much more so should we be empathetic to people, no matter what, the color of their skin, their background, their race, religion, creed, their socioeconomic status, whether you know them well or not so well. My friends, we got a lot of work to do. So take your Torah and study it. Take your Torah and work with it. I am proud of our community, but we have much, much more to do. Jacob Blake's life matters. It matters a lot. And Black lives matter. They matter a lot. It's time for us to act and live up to the ideals in our Torah. Shabbat Shalom.